All right, thanks a lot, Andrew. And another really good performance by the Bulldogs last night. I would describe it as a very efficient win. Nothing spectacular,
Right.
but a solid win. The offense took care of the football and moved it at times, especially with Marcus McMaryion through the air to Jared Rice. We saw that. And the defense was just spectacular again last night. Your impressions of last night's game?
Defense was suffocating once again. Anytime you have a defense that holds an opponent to 3 points, you have a pretty good chance to win, especially when you have a quarterback like Marcus McMaryion that has such a good grasp of what this offense wants to do. Found seams in that Wyoming cover 2, kept the zone read when he was able to keep it and picked up a lot of chunk yardage, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, a great efficient performance by him and really a suffocating performance by this Fresno State defense.
Yeah, speaking of that defense, they're now second in the country in points allowed, Cam. And this is a cool stat. They now have a nation-leading 17 straight games of holding their opponent under 30 points. The previous leader was Wisconsin at 20 games, but they allowed 38 to Michigan on Saturday. This is starting to become one of those all-time defenses maybe at Fresno State. You've seen a lot of Bulldog football. You played on a great defense.
Yeah.
Where do you think this defense ranks in Fresno State history?
Man, this is like going heart versus head, right? Because I played 2001, 2002. I think that 2001, probably with the 2005 defense, the most talented defense to ever play at Fresno State. But this current defense is the best. They execute at a higher level than I've ever seen. They are more disciplined than any other unit defensively that I've ever seen. You don't put up stats like they do and have the stretches of not giving up 30 points, of being, number 1 in turnovers, number 2 in points per game, number 1 in red zone efficiency. Those are numbers that take execution on a continuous basis, and I have never seen a defense execute as high a level as this defense in 2018 does. We were great. We had a lot of talent, but we just did not execute the small details that this defense does.
I got a feeling your phone's going to be blowing up later. Guys going, come on, Cam.
Rightly so. I said heart versus head, but when I watch this defense, we did not execute at this level. It is extremely impressive for any defense, even NFL defenses, to execute the way this defense does. To see it with a college unit it's something that we have never seen around Fresno State before defensively.
Offensively, I would describe it as a good night for the Bulldogs, especially for Marcus McMaryion. After struggling last week at Nevada, the offense put 27 points on the board, probably could have even gotten a few more points late in the game. Marcus, 340 total yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 throwing, 2 passing, 2 rushing. It's interesting to me that Marcus doesn't run a lot, but he seems to run in critical times. Do you see that way?
Yeah, and he's a little bit more aggressive in that zone read game when there is a big opportunity for him. When he's near the goal line, like we saw against UCLA, the run that we saw last night, a big 3rd down conversion, he keeps it and picks up a big chunk play. When he needs to keep the ball, he understands he has the ability to do that. But if they're in the middle of the field, they're running zone read, and maybe he can keep it or give it, he's going to give it more times than not. When he knows he has an opportunity to make a big play in a big situation, he's going to use that athleticism to make a big play for this offense.
All right, we don't talk about punters very often here on Bulldog Insider.
Right.
We should. It's an important part of the game. Every coach will tell you it's an important part of the game.
Pat Hill preaches it every broadcast. Special teams, 3rd phase of the game.
There you go. The Bulldogs got a really good performance from their punter last night, Blake Cusick, especially in the type of games the Bulldogs have played the last 2 weeks. Low-scoring affairs where field position could be very important. Blake Cusick, 4 of his 5 punts were down inside the 20 last night. Coach Jeff Tedford mentioned this specifically last night after the game with you, how important it was. How important was it?
When you have a defense like Fresno State does, to put offenses on the type of fields they have to go, 96, 90, 85 yards to try and score a touchdown, there are very few offenses that this Fresno State defense will play that can execute well enough to extend drives to go down the field and score points, because this defense is not giving up a big one. They're not giving up a cheap play. They're one of the best teams in the country at not allowing big chunk plays. They make you work for everything. So Blake Cusick is as big a piece on this defense as any player on this defense outside of maybe Jeff Allison, because he does make offenses drive extremely long to try and put touchdowns on the board. This team, they don't give up a lot of touchdowns. You might be able to get in field goal range, but when it gets in the red zone, you're not going to be able to score. And Blake Cusick has done a great job, especially the last 2 weeks, of making offenses move the ball the length of the field. And 2 weeks in a row, these offenses, they've not been up to that test.
Yeah, it's almost like a Nick Watney wedge when he puts it inside the 10, right? He puts that backspin on it, right? It's kind of fun.
Kind of like your wedge. Your 60-degree, just stick it, roll it back, and
I wish.
Putt for birdie. But it's exactly what the good punters, they understand how to do that inside the 10-yard line. And he did it 3 times last night, stuck that Wyoming offense inside the 10. They could have 5 downs to go down the field. They would not have scored a touchdown like last night on this defense.
All right, so next up, a trip to New Mexico this Saturday. 4:30 Pacific time start for this one. Again, it's going to be on ESPNU. And New Mexico is kind of an interesting team this year because we've gotten used to seeing that triple option under Bob Davie with the Lobos. Well, they're throwing it a lot more this year. They're running more of a zone read. And they got an interesting player at quarterback, former 4-star recruit who's been well-traveled, but he initially went to Tennessee, spent a year or 2 there, and then at a JC, kind of a well-traveled journey. But Sharon Jones is an interesting athlete. So what do you think of this matchup here with the Lobos?
It's much different than what we have expected from New Mexico. And you know, one of the key pieces in that zone read offense is to have an athlete like Sharon Jones at quarterback who can throw it, obviously, but can also hurt you with his legs. Exactly what we were talking about Marcus McMaryion. He adds that 2-dimensional aspect to that position, and it puts stress on a defense. So what's really encouraging about the way Fresno State has been playing is they've been playing extremely disciplined defensively, and what you can't do is make a big mistake against an athlete like Sharon Jones, and this defense will be ready for that test. And this is a defense for New Mexico that has given up a lot of points. So, Fresno State, when they go on the road, they're not quite as explosive. I think they do rely on that defense because defense travels. I think we're going to see a tight game early because New Mexico does have some explosiveness to that offense.
All right, so they get New Mexico this week. The Lobos 3-3, 1-1, coming off a tough loss at Colorado State. After that, the Bulldogs will return home to face a Hawaii team in 2 weeks that is undefeated in the conference. And this leads me to my next question about the crowd again. The ones who are there were over 28,000 in the house last night. Hey, they're into it, and they're great members of the Red Wave. We just want to see more people in the seats behind this football team, right?
Yeah.
They're 5-1. They're on the verge, if they 3 or 4 more wins, maybe a win at Boise, of getting nationally ranked, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a game against Hawaii, which could be for the West Division lead. I mean, do people not realize how big of an impact they can have on a football game?
No, and I don't think they realize how good this team is. I said it last week, or the last home game they had. This is a special Fresno State team. Jeff Tedford is 8-1 at home since he's come back as the head coach of the Fresno State Bulldogs. This is a special defense, the likes of which we've never seen. A local quarterback who is lighting teams up. They're averaging over 50 points a game at home this year. And there are every reason for people to come out and support this program. Local guys making big plays, and they play an exciting brand of football. I know the fair was going on last night. Fresno FC had a game. I understand at this point in the season that the attendance was down, but homecoming against Hawaii, probably 2 undefeated teams in the Mountain West, really a big opportunity for Fresno State to take another step to get themselves to host that Mountain West championship game. When Bulldog Stadium is rocking, there are not a lot of offenses that are going to come in here and have success against this defense. I don't care who they are, especially a Mountain West offense. So fans know. Fans remember when Bulldog Stadium was rocking. Just go back to the Boise game last year. There were over 35,000 fans rocking that stadium, and it's very difficult for offenses to have success, especially the way this defense is playing. Everybody loves this style of football. Hard-hitting, physical, local guys who love Fresno State making plays.
Yeah, you only get 6 home games a year. You gotta take advantage of them, especially when you're talking about a great Bulldog team. One other reason to go, hey, the games have been going pretty quickly with the type of football that Fresno State's playing, so you're not going to be there too late. Hey, if you want more Bemis and Worrell talking Bulldog football, and like I always say, who doesn't? The place to go, the KC24 Facebook page tomorrow night, 9 p.m. on Monday night. We'll be up on Facebook Live with more analysis on the Wyoming game. We'll also go a little more in-depth previewing New Mexico. Also go through the 10 game-changing plays from last night's game. Get Cam's insight on why those worked, or in some cases, why they didn't. Again, that's tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on the KC24 Facebook page. And 9 p.m., of course, as long as Cam doesn't get stuck in traffic like he did last week.
No tutoring tomorrow, so should be good.
All right, we're
should,
good to
should
go.
Be on time. Yeah.
Good to go. And